Okay, so since the live portion on Facebook was so horrible to hear all the way around, I recording this part of the service for you because several of you said you could kind of hear it and you really wish you could hear it. So here we go. Today is the eve of the Yuletide, the winter solstice, which runs from December 21st to January 1st. Now, many people will say with the word Yuletide is synonym for Christmas. The non-believers know that it is much, much older than the Christmas celebration of Christ's birth. Yuletide is the end, the death, the ending of life, the ending of the season cycles. Yuletide is the beginning, the birth, new life, the beginning of the seasonal cycles. As I was looking this year for our solstice story or prayer, I came across a take on the 'Twas the Night Before Christmas poem. The take is written by Yasmine Galenorn, who is a successful writer of urban fantasy, paranormal romance, and fantasy mystery book series. And on her website, galenorn.com, she wrote this. In 2001, when tragedy struck the nation in September, some of us fell into a paralyzing, frozen state of emotion. As we neared Yule, I knew I wanted to celebrate, but it just seemed wrong? Perhaps not wrong, but hard to let myself enjoy much of anything given so much that had happened. Then two realizations hit me. One was in picking up a book I had been reading before the towers were hit. It was one of Janet Ivanovich's books. As I started to skim the pages, I heard myself laugh for the first time since that horrible September day. And that's when I realized how very much entertainment matters, even in darkness. It brings a breath of relief, a little respite. And second, it occurred to me that by ignoring the holiday, by refusing to celebrate all that was good in my life, I was giving the shadows power and validating their actions. To sort through my feelings, I wrote the following, and every year I bring it out and read it to remind me that we must always have hope, even when there are cruel people and horrendous things going on around us and throughout the world. Once I read the poem Yasmine Galenorn wrote, I knew that it was a gracious tribute to 2001, and it is to 2020. So I present A Merry Yuletide to All by Yasmine Galenorn. 'Twas the day before Yuletide, and all through the coven the witches were baking sacred cakes in the oven. The astrologers were eyeing the stars for great omens. The bards were penning their stories and poems. The Norsemen were blasted on grog and on ale. The Celts hoarded mistletoe while it was on sale. The New Agers were dreaming of angels of light as the snow piled up through the long winter night. Yuletide was coming. Yuletide was near. And all that we craved was all good cheer. The trees sparkled with light in this season of snow. The year's gifts seemed bigger. Or maybe not so. Cookies and cakes and roast hams and roast geese filled the tables with promises, the promise of feast. Parties and dinners abounded this year. Through underneath all looked the presence of tears. The rain in my town poured down cold as sleet. The skies overcast were as usual bleak. I took a deep breath and I trimmed my fig tree. I'd rather not cut down a real one, you see. And wondered again how traditions brought peace, and how these few baubles can make my pain cease. The year has been hard, many lives had been lost, and my heart surges with the winter's white frost. I turned off the lamps, and I plugged in the lights. Circling the tree, they were shining so bright. I curled by the fire, my cats at my feet, and listened to silence and to my heartbeat. No elaborate ritual planned for Yule night. Maybe a few friends and loved ones hopefully held tight. Just a few thoughts for those not as lucky as me, for those sitting alone by a morning dimmed tree. As I curled by the fire, in front of my eyes, a man dressed in holly showed up by my side. "What the?" I asked as the cats raced down the hall. "Home invasion, freak psycho, just a tad off the wall." He shook his head and with a chill in his eyes, sat on the sofa and gave a great sigh. "My dear, I'll save you the trouble to ask. Answers you want, to give answers, my task." His breath swirled with ice, his hands cracked with frost. The Holly King visiting? Perhaps he was lost. I offered him grog, and I offered him cake, but neither treat would the Winter King take. I knelt at his feet, questions filling my heart. How can we celebrate in times that are dark? Are we just kidding ourselves anymore? Does the mother still care? Have we outlived our lore? He put his hand on my shoulder and wiped a tear from my eye, and he leaned forward and whispered, "Tomorrow I die. Tomorrow I meet my brother and fight, and then descend into the long winter's night." "Then why are you here?" I grabbed for his hand. "You're doomed, and yet you still travel the land. You bring beauty of winter, the keen chill of ice. You're here in my home, gifting me with advice." He held tight to my fingers. He would not let go. His smile remained, his eyes clouded with snow. "I bring you beauty because it's my nature and force. I travel the land. It's our lifeblood and source. I will die tomorrow. Others have died today, and not every trouble will vanish away, and not every hunger will feed, nor every tear dry. But to ignore beauty for pain is to let your soul die." He lifted my chin and whispered, "Listen to me. Let go of the guilt. Set it loose, set it free. Be grateful for that which the goddess has sent. Help those who you can, give prayers where you can't. Don't deny yourself celebration and mirth, for the joy that you feel, to more joy it gives birth. Don't dwell on the pain, on the death, on the tears. You'll only empower more anguish and fear." And I saw what he meant. A world driven by pain, where fear ruled out courage and kept us in chains, where tears become bars of a cage holding us in, where laughter and music and joy are all sins. I vowed with my magic would not build that world, and as I so vowed, the energy swirled and swooped and rose, and the Holly King laughed, and he kissed me soundly and winked as he danced. The lights on the tree grew bright, shimmering clear. The gifts given with love no longer seemed shallow cheer. The garlands smelled fresh, the rain turned to snow. Then the Holly King said, "I really must go. I've a battle to lose. and a duty to season. And as to my death, you know there's good reason. A world cannot live in perpetual cold. Even the holly lord must fade and grow old. I reached up to his wizened face and gave him a kiss, as the room clouded over with fog and bog mist. He gave me a hug and then pulled back near the tree, and as he vanished, he was waving to me. I opened the drapes to see the snow sparkling like gems, covering the trees, every broth, needle, and limb. I fixed myself tea and thought of the night. What a wonderful gift, the gift of clear sight. Tomorrow our family on our home may descend, and we will be here to welcome them in. We'll eat and we'll drink, exchange gifts in the light of a fire that crackled all through the night. And we'll mourn the holly come Yuletide day. We'll turn the wheel in our nouveau ancient of ways. We'll drive back the darkness with song and with mirth, and welcome the old king as the goddess gives birth. Happy solstice.